let's switch tracks a little bit because then you and I, before we hit record, we're talking about mindful eating and, you're making this Pluck product that is flavorful, and I would think it's like enhancing our eating experience. So let's talk a little bit about why mindful eating. Well, what do you mean by mindful eating and why that's important to you?
Yeah, so I want to back up a little bit because one of the things that I really like talk about around just ancestral eating, because I think we have to think about where the body we're in right now is Homo sapien,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a body that basically was developed over 100,000 years ago. It hasn't changed that much, and and so what we're thinking about here is it's not about that we have to eat exactly how that prehistoric person ate.
The paleo
Yeah, right.
diet.
It's not necessarily that's not necessarily my point, but think about how was this body designed to communicate what does it need and how much of it. And it was really built off of two concepts, which is this food going to nourish me or is this food going to kill me?
Mm-hmm.
But how did it get that communication? Well, it got it through the senses. It got it through taste. It got it through touch. Got it through eyesight, hearing even. You hear something fall in a forest that's going to direct you to it. Like, oh, wait, what is that? And you're going to hear sounds and all of these senses, your sense of taste, they're all communicating. We call that the neural lingual response. And that communication is what's sadly gotten very confused and kind of broken in our modern day
Yeah.
because we're being tricked. A lot of the flavors that you're finding in the grocery store are not true flavors. They're artificial or they're naturally enhanced flavors. And they're confusing our instincts. So ancestrally, if you had flavor out in nature, that equaled nutrition. Flavor equals nutrition. Well, skip ahead to our modern times, and you could eat something that says it has strawberry flavor, but it has zero strawberries. So your body is like, oh, flavor, nutrition, and then it never gets the nutrition, and so it doesn't know when to stop. It keeps eating, and and then your cravings get all weird because you're also not getting like truly balanced nutrition. You're getting either too much of one thing or too little of something else, and so it just you end up being extremely confused. And so,
Yeah.
how I like to simplify it for people is I try to bring it back to okay, if we were thinking about ancestral concepts, ancestral eating, there's really three points that I would want you to focus on if I was creating like a food pyramid for ancestral eating. I would say the top of the pyramid is I want flavors that are found in nature. So not natural flavors, not artificial flavors. So if the food I'm eating has any added flavors, I don't care the source, just any added flavors, you want to move away from that. So I want foods that have flavor found in nature. Then in
Okay.
the middle of that pyramid, I want foods that are nutrient dense. Well, what are the nutrient dense foods? Those are going to be the single source foods. Those are going to be where they are an ingredient versus have ingredients. And
Mm-hmm.
then the bottom of that pyramid, and this is the grounding, this is the foundation of everything else, is mindfully eating. It's mindful eating. And what do we mean when we say that? Well, that is about choices you make, the choices you make at the grocery store to what you would allow into your kitchen, but even more importantly, what do you allow past your lips? That also means what state are you in while you're eating, while you're cooking, while you're shopping. These are all, it's just bringing basically like a consciousness to the choices you're making. And I think that's really what we're talking about when we say mindful anything is just bring awareness. How do I feel when I'm doing X? And that could be, like I said, when you're purchasing it, but that also could be, okay, now that I'm eating it, how am I feeling? And I always like to kind of welcome people this one simple step. Well, there's a couple of I would say here's three steps everyone can take right away after this podcast. So one would be meal plan. Meal plan allows
I
for
love it.
extreme mindfulness when you are shopping
Yeah.
because if you don't meal plan, then you go willy nilly and you're making emotional purchases based off of price or based off of where you're at emotionally.
Mm.
So
Yeah, and the other thing I always say with meal planning is you will make better decisions when you're sitting down and intentionally planning a meal rather than, what am I going to eat tonight? It's always a
totally.
better decision making process.
And we have such decision fatigue at the end of our days. And
Yeah.
so meal planning really just removes that issue. And you can also really build your meal plan off of your work week. Like I really recommend people open their calendars when they're meal planning and they look at like, okay, what does your day look on Wednesday? If you are in meetings all day, then that's a slow cooker day.
Yeah.
That's a day where you put the stuff in the morning, get it turned on, and then it's ready for you when you're done. Put the timer on and it's done.
I love it.
So really think about that.
I
What
had three very busy kids and they were swimmers and the swim time was mostly like 5 to 7 p.m. And so I started years ago doing meal planning because it was the only way I could really manage my family and manage the meals with everything that was going on. And it's just
Yeah.
something we've continued. I just find it so much easier to plan meals and not plan meals.
It really is, and it's going to be hard at first if you're someone who's never done it, but it gets easier and easier, and it's
Mm-hmm.
quicker. You just grab your favorite Bon Appetit magazine or your favorite recipe book, and just pick based off of your a mix of your calendar, and then also what looks appealing to your eyes. And what I love about it too is that the things that we don't want. I guess the best way to word this is okay, we all have these desired outcomes, whether it's weight loss, whether it's longevity, whether it's to just feel good in our body, right? Well, the things that typically cause havoc or don't kind of support us in that outcome, that desired outcome, are also the things you would never put on your your ingredient list from a meal plan. Like it's the chips, it's the cookies, it's all these other things, but they're never in the recipe.
No.
They're never ever like you're making, teriyaki chicken. It doesn't say Oreos, it doesn't say Doritos, it doesn't say soda. You know what I mean? So these are all things that we just add on in the moment. And so meal planning really alleviates that. It's like just follow your list and
Hmm.
stick to it. And so then the next one I would add is in terms of just that is really going to help you be mindful is take a break, take a moment when you're about to eat, just whether it's to say a prayer, to say something grateful, to take a breath, anything that will let you just
Hmm.
pause and then
Love it.
settle. Anything
Yeah.
that will work extremely well in terms of getting you just in the seat, mindful of like what am I about to eat, and then get you in your body. Because
Yeah.
a lot of us are checking out when we're eating, and sometimes it's because we're eating foods that we know are not going to produce the desired outcome we want, but we're doing it and we're just checking out and we're going, and like I used to do this myself. I would go all day without eating, and then I'd be so ravenous that I would just eat like all my comfort foods. And as I'm eating them, I'm watching TV and I'm totally like just trying to escape that day. And I notice I would always feel like really bloated afterwards. I'd have to undo my pants. And then
Mm.
because I ate too much. And then I also just didn't feel good. Like I knew while I was eating it, like this food isn't making me feel good, but I was ignoring that because I I was so past the point of being able to just be mindful because I had waited too long to eat.
Yep. And then you're not in that, the optimal digestion mode, right? So you're probably not even going to absorb whatever nutrients are in that food.
It's amazing. We've done experiments. I know other people have, but if you set your intention before, let's just say you're sensitive. Now, this is obviously not for someone who is celiac, but let's say you're just sensitive to something, whether it's gluten or whatever. If you actually set the intention before you go to eat and you like put yourself in that really relaxed state, positive, like this food is going to nourish me, not hurt me, you can actually leave a meal and not feel bloated and not have issue. We've tested it before and it really does work. So that kind of
Hmm.
placebo effect of like what is the state of your mind when you're doing something? What is the state of your heart? What is the state of your stress levels? That stuff really does work.